Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm already seeing familiar faces. Love that some of you guys are here today. Look, we're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about something that I think is going to resonate with a lot of you. I know it resonated with me. It's a story that we're very familiar with, but I think we're going to take it from a little different angle today. I'm excited to have everybody here just because at this point, I know that you guys, this is a great week, right? We're coming into Easter weekend. This is a time of year when the world is literally looking at Jesus Christ. Like we're literally looking at the Savior this week. And I see posts all over my feed right now because of that. And I love it. I love seeing the attitude, the just the sharing of the gospel message this week. And so I'm excited about today because I'm going to get to share a story that really I think will resonate well with you, especially if you guys have struggled, if you've been stressed, if you're looking at life maybe from a little different angle today. And so as we go through today and as we get started into today, make sure and use the chat. Guys, we want to get engagement. I want to see, like, what are you hearing? What are the golden nuggets? What are the things that resonate with you? Maybe you pick something up, or maybe you have something to add into the conversation. We want to hear about that as we go through this. Also today, you guys are going to see Aaron on this call. Aaron's my co-host today. Guys, he's going to be here the whole time. He'll be able to answer questions, guide you guys. And then at the very end, I'm going to give him an opportunity to kind of share some of the things that are going on in our world, which is pretty stinking exciting. We have a lot of opportunity right now. And for all of you that may be new to me or new to kind of who I am, guys, we spent 17 years in full-time ministry. We did youth ministry, college ministry, worked in children's homes, just was really extremely blessed. And about 10 years ago, we said, you know what? We want to be able to do ministry without taking a paycheck. We want to be able to do something that allows us to go bless people, that allows us to pour into people, that allows us to engage in a way that we haven't been able to engage, both through time, resources, skills, abilities, God-given gifts. Not just me, my wife, my family. We wanted all of us to be able to do that. So 10 years ago, we set out to do that through now, which now it's become about a half a dozen different businesses or more. But initially, it just started as one business. It started as one thing. So, guys, look, this is something that today I'm hoping and praying that this is a blessing to you guys because this is a topic that I think we need encouragement on. I think we need to many times get out of our own way. And I don't know. God's been not just working on me, but I've had many conversations this week for all the men that are on this call today. I think this is going to really play out in what we read today. I've had this conversation multiple times today about how our egos get in our way, how our egos get in our way of our business, our life, our family, asking for help, doing the things that we know we need to do to better ourselves, to become the best of what God's created us to be. And so I want to push into that. I'm going to challenge you today as we go through this because Samson, poor Samson, the guy really, if you really dig into who he was and what he did, he had some ego issues. He was selfish. He really did some stuff that was super impulsive. We're going to see a little bit of it today in what we're going to read. I know for me, I was just having a conversation earlier, like the last probably 20, 30 minutes before we got on this call. And I was having the conversation saying, look, I've let ego get in my way. I've been humbled. Business, for all of you that are entrepreneurs, which is this call, this is what this call is about, is looking at it from a biblical kingdom standpoint as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. For all of you that are entrepreneurs on this call, you will be humbled because that is business. Business is humbling. It will it will have the highest highs and it will have the lowest lows. And we've been there when we've made a ton of money, and we've been there when I've been trying to figure out how just to pay the bills and make sure that I covered payroll. And we've had both extremes many times over the last 10 years. I think today's message is going to help kind of dig into where we need to play that role, where we need to be for that. And so as we get into today, I really want to make sure that you are thinking from that mindset of Samson was a bit of a mess. The dude had some ego issues. He was impulsive. He was selfish. He was self-righteous. Many times, and we're going to talk about this, he was literally set apart at birth with his Nazarite vow. And that Nazarite vow had all kinds of different things that he wasn't supposed to do, like no wine, to the point that many Nazarites wouldn't even eat a grape or even the skin off of a grape. Like it was that big of a deal. And yet we find Samson throwing his own parties. We know there had to have been wine and drink and other. He was that guy. In addition to that, we know that they weren't supposed to be close to anything that had to do with death, corpses, anything, bones, anything like that. And of course, we know that they couldn't cut their hair. That was one of the Nazarite vows. Samson was that guy. He was the guy that said, hey, I'm going to do this. And yet, we see him breaking that vow all through the book of Judges. Like he just makes these dumb decisions, many times impulsive decisions. And they weren't just decisions that affected him. We're going to see in today's story that it affected other people too. There's consequences. There's consequences to us doing these things. We know he had incredible strength. It was kind of funny. There was a college kid just here. This shirt is for our ministry that we have, that we work with here in town called The Well. We work with the college ministry here. We work with a bunch of kiddos. We had a whole group last night that we were with. I think there were probably 50 to 60 kids. We're kind of coming up on the end of the semester. A bunch of kids have already kind of started to flake and fall off and that sort of. If any of y'all are involved in college ministry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And one of the kids was just in here a minute ago. He helps me here at the house. And I was telling him, I said, hey, I'm going to do this talk on Samson today. And he said, when I was a little kid, he said, I used to worry about growing my hair out because I was afraid I was going to get super strong and hurt people. And it's just funny how we have these images in our mind of who Samson was, what he was about, all those things. As you guys can see, I haven't really had that worry of growing my hair out really long and having that problem. So that's not really an issue that I deal with. I think we have these messages that we've been told, or things that we've been told through time, that we have these stories, these storylines in our head of who these people are, or what they are. Maybe you were taught, and you're the old felt board people where you had Samson and the story of him pushing the pillars and all of that. But today we're going to kind of dig into a couple of the things, because we know Samson had anger issues. We know he was bitter. We know he held a grudge. He did all of these things. He married who he wanted, even if it wasn't who he needed to marry. He slept with prostitutes. Like, Samson was an interesting character in scripture, and we don't necessarily dig into all of these things, but he was constantly breaking the vow that he made to God. This Nazarite vow that said, basically, I'm going to do these things and I'm not going to do these things, and I'm going to give my life wholeheartedly to you. And yet, we see God give him grace. We see God give him strength, and the Spirit of the Lord filled him. Even though most of the time, as you're going to see in the story today, most of the time when you see Samson, he did not pray first. He did not ask God first. He did not seek God first. And many times he only sought God after something had happened, and when he was kind of in a whiny, gripey mood. It's very interesting to see how he handled his life as a God follower and as someone that ruled over the children of Israel for a time, right? A judge, right? So As we pick up this story, we're going to be in Judges 15 today. We're going to walk through parts of this story. We're going to talk through parts of this story right before we get into what we're into now. Uh, he had set this whole storyline up because he had came up with this riddle that he told this group of people and said, hey, if you'll do this, and I'm going to give you all these clothes and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And nobody could figure out the riddle. And these people literally blackmailed his wife at the time into finding out what the answer was to the riddle. He tells her, she tells them, they solve the riddle. He goes, kills a bunch of people so that he can get the stuff that he's supposed to give these people after getting there. I mean, this is Samson, right? His wife gets taken away. He leaves. He runs away. And we don't know for sure, but between that storyline and his wife being given at the end of chapter 14, being given to one of the men, one of the companions of Samson, and the time that we see Samson come back into the story in Judges 15, it could be 6 to 9 months. Like, it was a long time. It wasn't just like a couple of days or a week or 2 weeks. This could have been months before he came back and tried to make up with his wife and come back into this whole storyline. This was Samson. We see this kind of thing happen over and over and over. And so we're going to pick up in Judges 15. That's where we're going to be. Let me share my screen. In fact, hang on just a second. Let me get rid of these other Zoom screens so that we can jump right into this. Perfect. All right. Here we are. Look. This is going to be a fun little storyline. It's one that probably most of you have read or at least heard, because it's one of those stories that we're kind of, I don't know, it's just one of those stories that seems to have been taught many times. But we're going to kind of move through this. I'll talk a little bit, we'll read a little bit, and then we're going to kind of tie this whole thing together. Verse 1 says, after some days at the time of the wheat harvest, Samson went to visit his wife with a young goat. All right, so I don't know about you guys. I haven't never brought my wife a goat. Seems kind of strange, right? But that's one of those things that he showed up with a goat. We don't know if it was to help to kind of clean up the mess that he had made. We don't know if he was giving it to dad to try to clean up that mess that he had made. We just don't know. Apparently he wanted to do something. Instead of bringing flowers, chocolates, I don't know, whatever else, he brought a young goat. And then he says, I will go into my wife in the chamber. Basically, he's like, hey, I want to get back with my wife, blah, 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 right? Brought his young goat, but her father would not allow him to go in. And her father said, I really thought that you utterly hated her, so I gave her to your companion. Is not her younger sister more beautiful than she? Please take her instead. So the dad's like, I've already given her away to somebody else. Some translations even say this would have been like the best man in his wedding. Like, this would have been a very close guy to Samson that the dad gives his daughter to. And then the dad says, hey, why don't you take his younger sister instead? What a weird, this whole thing is just kind of really strange, right? The whole thing's kind of strange. He shows up with a goat months later, tries to kind of smooth things over, wants to get back into bed with her, basically. And the dad goes, no, she's already been given to somebody else. Why don't you take the younger sister, blah, blah, blah. Samson gets mad. And Samson said to them, this time I shall be innocent in regard to the Philistines when I do them harm. Basically, he justifies his rage. He goes, okay, fine. I'm going to go hurt some people because of what you just did. And that's kind of his attitude. So Samson went, got 300 foxes and took torches, and he tied the tell to tell, and he put a torch between each pair of the tells. And when he had set fire to the torches, he let the foxes go into the standing grain of the Philistines and set fire to the stacked grain and standing grain as well as the olive orchards. Then the Philistines said, who has done this? And they said, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he has taken his wife and given her to his companion. So they basically throw dad under the bus. Samson gets called out. He did this. He had literally wiped out and burned down their uh, basically their living, the way they fed themselves, the way they took care of themselves, the way they made money, all of that. Like he just wiped it out by burning it. Uh, they basically threw him under the bus, and then the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. Consequences. Wasn't just Samson that got in trouble here. She and her dad get burned to death. Samson said to them, if this is what you do, I swear I will be avenged on you. And after that, I will quit. And he struck them hip and thigh with a great blow, and he went down and stayed in the cleft of the rock of Edom. All right. He killed a bunch of people before he went back away and went to stay in a cave. So I want you to think about this. This is crazy when you really think about the story. Like if we were to put this in a real live drama where you could see what this storyline looked like. Samson goes and takes this woman. He takes this woman, marries her. They go through this whole little dialogue with this whole riddle he makes up. He ends up giving her the answer. That ends up causing these big O issues. He goes and kills some people to be able to give them what he does. Then we come back, and all of a sudden now, we have something even bigger happening because now he comes back to make up with the family, make up with the dad and the daughter. Dad says, take my younger daughter. Samson gets mad. He goes and he burns all the Philistines' crops and he burns their olive orchards. And the Philistines come back and say, hey, who did this? They throw the dad under the bus. The dad and the daughter then are burned alive. Samson goes and kills some Philistines, and then he runs off to a cave. That's literally what happens within this 6-9 month period. Kind of crazy. Once we get to verse 9, the Philistines come up and encamped in Judah and made a raid on Lehi. Now, this is a big group of people. Some scriptures say it's a company of men, 1,000 men come and camp by Lehi and say, hey, right? And all of a sudden they just show up. Now, remember, the Philistines at this point are actually ruling over. Some scripture, some translations even say they're bullying the Israelites. So the Philistines are ruling over these people at this point. And verse 10 says, and then the men of Judah said, why have you come against us? And then they said, we have come to bind Samson to do him as he did to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock, right, and said to Samson, 3,000 of them. They didn't take any chances. They were like, we're going to take 3,000 guys and we're going to go get Samson before these guys attack us. They go to get Samson, and it says, do you not know that the Philistines are rulers over us? What then is this that you have done to us? You've brought this on us, Samson. What in the world are you doing? You're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be the guy that's supposed to be protecting us. You're supposed to be the guy that's doing all this stuff. What in the world are you doing? Why did you bring this on us? And he said to him, I said to them, as they did to me, so I have done to them. He justified it, right? What's their fault? You guys don't ever hear that, do you? There's no victim mentality in our culture today. Well, it's always their fault. It's somebody else's fault. Not my fault. I didn't do anything. I didn't kill a bunch of dudes to get the clothing for some goofy riddle that I made up. I didn't actually break my Nazarite vow in the fact that I went and got honey out of a dead lion carcass in the first place and touched death. Like all of these things. Like Samson was always pointing the finger at somebody else, right? I'm glad we don't do that, right? So it's kind of crazy when you think about what he does. He literally tells 3,000 men, well, I did this because they did it to me first. Our culture never says that kind of stuff, do they? Now, after this, they they show this show of force. Uh, it's kind of this wild little storyline that's happening. Verse 12, it says, and they said to him, we have come down to bind you that we may give you into the hands of the Philistines. And Samson said to them, swear to me that you will not attack me yourselves. He just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to kill him. They said to him, no, we will only bind you and give you into their hands. We will surely not kill you. So they bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. So 3,000 guys go get Samson. They basically say, look, dude, you brought all of this heat on us. What in the world are you doing? He blames everybody. He doesn't take any ownership of any of it. They go, okay, we're going to bind you and take you to the Philistines. He's like, okay, as long as you guys aren't going to kill me. And they're like, no, we're not going to hurt you. We just want to take you back to the Philistines and get them off of our land. And that's kind of where we pick up the storyline. When he came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting to meet him. These guys were ticked off. They were mad. They were upset. He had literally taken out their grains. He had killed a bunch of them. He had taken out their olive orchards. Like these are things that were their core way of making a living, feeding their families, doing their thing. It says, then the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him. Now remember, up until this point, we have not seen him pray. We have not seen him ask God anything. We've not even seen him talk to God at this point. Nothing. He just took it all into his own hands, and then he blamed everybody else because he went and did these things. The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him. The ropes that were on his arms became as flax that has caught fire, and his bonds melted off his hands, and he found a fresh jawbone of a donkey. Okay, let's stop right there. Right off the bat, he's not supposed to be close to death. He finds a fresh jawbone, breaks his Nazarite vow again, picking up a fresh donkey jawbone. Something that probably wasn't what he initially thought he was going to get or pick up or do, and put out his hand and took it, and with it he struck 1,000 men. Told you, it was a company, whole group of Philistines. Kills 1,000 dudes with one donkey jawbone. Which, by the way, apparently this was a miracle jawbone because it lasted the whole 1,000 men. He killed 1,000 dudes with one bone, jawbone, that didn't break, didn't whatever, that he was able to go kill these guys. Then what does he do? Spirit of the Lord comes on him, all this stuff happens. He goes, kills a bunch of dudes with the jawbone, and Samson says, he writes a song right in the middle of all this. He writes himself a little ditty, and he says, with the jawbone of a donkey, heap upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey, have I struck down 1,000 men. He writes this little song about the jawbone. He's like all about the jawbone. Is this really what he should have been singing about or singing to? Because it was the Spirit of the Lord that gave him the strength to overcome all this stuff and go do the thing in the first place. And yet he's looking at the jawbone going, oh, praise the jawbone, right? He's literally writing a song in the middle of this thing, praising the jawbone. Then we see him finally, after this, we see him finally reach out to God. So as soon as he was finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone out of his hand. And this place was called, and it basically... It's kind of funny, all the different things that happen. It's basically called the Hill of the Jawbone. That's what it becomes known as. And he was very thirsty because, you know, after you kill 1,000 men with a jawbone, that's what you are. You're thirsty. And so he called upon the Lord and said, you have granted me this great salvation by the hand of your servant, and shall I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of this uncircumcised? Can you just hear the tone, guys? Like, this is literally him killing these guys with the jawbone because of the Spirit of the Lord, writing a song about the jawbone in the middle of this thing. And then what does he do? He after all of it's done, he calls out to God, and he basically says, hey, man, you let me kill all these people. You let me kill all these people, and yet now you're going to let me die of thirst? I mean, come on, God, right? That's literally what again, he was all about himself. He was always looking for the easy way out. Like, it's fascinating to look at the story. And he's like, he does the passive aggressive thing. Shall I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? Are you really going to let me be taken by all of these Philistines? Craziness, right? He just witnessed multiple miracles. He just had strength. He just watched a donkey jawbone last to kill 1,000 men. I bet they didn't have swords sometimes that could kill 1,000 men without breaking and having issues. And yet he worships the jawbone or writes a song about it. And then he tells God, oh, give me some water because, man, you don't want to let me die, or you don't let me take him by these uncircumcised Philistines.
The importance of
it's a whole thing, right? It's a whole thing. And so as you're looking at this, I want you to kind of keep this in mind, this attitude that Samson has through this whole thing. God split open the hollow place that is at Lehi, and water came out from it. And when he drank, his spirit returned and he revived. Now, what's interesting about this, and he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines for 20 years. This is their leader. The guy that's worshiping the jawbone, whining to God, killing Philistines because he was mad about his wife getting taken away. His wife and her dad dying in a fire because of what he did and not taking any ownership of it. Kind of crazy. Look, as we look at this story, let me stop this share right quick so I can see you guys. As we look at this story, have you ever felt like God called you to something and you just didn't live up to it? Because the reality is, Samson was called to something. He took a vow to do some things and to be very real about some things that he ends up breaking the vows over and over and over and over again. Not long after this story, we see him go and sleep with another prostitute. And then not long after that, we see the whole Samson to Delilah story. So this isn't anything new. Like, this is the same thing over and over again. Do we do the same thing? Have we been called to something? My guess is God's gifted you. He's equipped you. He's gifted you with something that's unique to just you, right? If that's the case, are you living up to what God's called you to do? 10 years ago, I felt like there was more. I'm going to share something I really haven't shared probably very many places about what happened right before we left 10 years ago and came back to Texas to start these businesses. We were working at a children's home at the time. I had been running a children's home in Kansas for about 2.5 years. The stress of that home, we had, it was an all-girls children's home. We had girls age 11 to about 24. We had girls that were abused, neglected, private placement. So these were girls that weren't from the state. These were family members placing them, friends, or other nonprofits that were placing them with us. Many of these girls had been in really sticky situations. Some of them had been homeless for a pretty good while. Many of them had been sexually trafficked. And we had apartments for the older girls and homes for the younger girls to live in, like group homes for the younger girls to live in. I don't know about y'all, but the way I've done and been involved in ministry in the past, I'm all in. I don't know any other way to be other than just to be all in. During that, being all in, I lived on the campus with this, with the houses and with the apartments and the offices and all this stuff. So when it snowed, Cory was out there using the snow blower to get the snow off sidewalks, right? When grass needed to be mowed and we didn't have a volunteer, my wife and I were out mowing the grass, doing the thing. When visitors were coming, when we had the big, huge races at the campus or big events or whatever, I was the one planning it. I was the one going and speaking at churches. I was a one-man show because we didn't have enough funds at the time to be able to go do other stuff. And it eventually wore me down to the point where I started to have stomach ulcers, high blood pressure. It was wild. And we got to a point where we were like, I told my wife, I'm like, look, this is awesome. I love helping people. I love helping these kids and these families. I love doing all this stuff. Uh, I physically am hurting myself continuing to do the job the way I am. And that was because I hadn't grown into somebody that could separate it out and be separate from the ministry. My identity and everything was wrapped up in it. My life was wrapped up in it. My day to day was wrapped up in it. We had kids constantly knocking on our doors. I was the one doing all the intake. I was doing all the stuff. As we were doing all of that, I told my wife that, and we made a decision. Our daughter was high school at that point. We made a decision, hey, we're going to go and we're going to work to help this other children's home plant a thrift store. This was with a friend of mine that ran the other children's home. So we get to the other children's home. We're thinking that, man, this is going to be great. This is going to be a wonderful adventure. This is going to be amazing. We get there. Within 2 weeks of my wife, because she went ahead of me, she was going to be helping with some events and some other stuff that they needed done. Within 2 weeks of her getting there, she immediately knew that this was not going to be a fit for us. Our wives have these crazy intuition kind of things. Like she just knew. She knew this was not going to be a fit. Now, she didn't tell me that until I got there. Because about a week or two later, I moved all of our belongings out to Colorado where we were living. But she knew this was not going to be a fit for us. Now, we get there and I get the thrift store rolling. We get it set up. We get it started. We get going. And me and my friend bumped heads. I had come out of a position of a CEO. I don't know if he felt threatened by that. I don't know. It doesn't matter at this point. It just was not a good situation. And there was a point where I looked at my wife and said, look, we're struggling financially. We have nothing in the bank. Life is not good. We're not enjoying this. I don't enjoy my workplace right now. The situation with my boss got heated. Like it just was not good. My ego came into play. I decided, or we decided that, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a bold decision and we're going to do something different. Now, initially I thought, should I just go do another ministry somewhere? We'd done ministry for 17 years straight. Like we could go do that if we wanted to. There's plenty of youth ministry jobs, children's home jobs. I could have done development, could have ran another children's home, could have done whatever. And at that point, we decided, you know what, instead of doing that, our daughter's coming into her last few years of high school. Let's move back to Texas. Let's see if we can open a business. We had no money at the time, by the way. We didn't have enough money to move. We didn't have enough money to rent a truck. We didn't have enough money to put down a deposit on a new home, or rental home, right, in Denton, where we moved to. And at this point, can I just be real? Cory was feeling a little beat down. Like I was hurt. I was hurt by my boss. I felt like, I really felt like I was being attacked in a way at that point. Now, a lot of that was me. It was my own pride, my own ego, my own stuff. I can resonate with what Samson dealt with. And I wanted to blame others. I wanted to do all that. The crazy part, Michelle and I had this conversation, my wife and I did the other day. We were talking about this. I felt like God had so much more for me. I was like, there's got to be more to this than just me working a job. Yes, I'm touching some families and able to help some kids and do some stuff. Great. But my daughter had to share us most of her life because we were doing children's homework or we had youth kids over all the time. And even to this day, we've got kids coming to live with us right now. Like literally right now, we have kids coming, college kids that are coming to live with us because they need somewhere in between times and doing stuff. This is just who we are. It's what we're about. And we had to make some hard decisions. I look back and I was hurt. I would say even damaged coming into this new world, this new life. I had to call my dad, suck it up, get humbled, and say, hey, We don't have enough money. I really need to get out of here. This is not a healthy situation for me and my family. And dad was like, great, what do you need? That's the kind of dad I have. That's the kind of father all of us have. Samson, even in his times of stupidity, when he was egotistical, blaming others, being the victim, God still filled him with power. God still blessed him. Even when he wasn't a good leader, God still blessed him. I call dad. We go through this conversation. Dad's like, what do you need? We figured out a way for us to move back, get started with a new business, which is not what we do now, by the way. We started a totally different kind of business initially. There was something inside of me that said, you can do more. You can be more. You can touch more lives. You can create more resources. You can do more for the ministry. All of that. I had no idea how it was going to work. Not only did I have no idea how it was going to work, but I really hadn't seen anybody do any of the stuff that I wanted to do. I didn't know a single person around me that had ever been able to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to go do ministry without taking a paycheck and have the resources to be able to do things that were just bold and a little outrageous, like buy a bus for a ministry like we did a few years ago. I wanted to be able to do those things. I had no idea how to do that because at the time we were broke, in debt, I was not the leader. I was not the business owner. I didn't have any of those skills. And I look back, and this is what I was telling my wife the other day. I look back at the man that moved to Texas, that spent 3 months going door to door to businesses trying to sell safety equipment, because that's what I grew up, my family business is what kind of we grew up doing, and getting told no every day. I would come home beat up, beat down, did not want to talk to anybody, did not want to deal with anybody, and just wanted to climb into my little cave and have self-pity, kind of like Samson. And I wanted to blame people. But there was something inside of me that just kept going, Cory, you're made for more. You can do more. There's more for you. So we get to Texas. We spent about 3 months, me just beating doors every day. Drove this old white panel van that I'd bought from my family business for like $2,500, driving it up and down the highway. Here comes Cory in his little white panel van. Calling on these safety, like I'd call an oil field guys and all this stuff. And I just I didn't know anybody. Literally walk up, knock on the door. Hey, and I'd walk in with something like a fall protection harness or some safety glasses or something. And I would just try to get in with the safety guy and see if I could do it. I'd started building a little bit of business. And we get to the point where I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this, because I was coming home and climbing into the cave every night going, I don't want to deal with anybody. I don't want to deal with anything. I just want to fast forward everything. I just want to get to the point where we're already successful, right? I want to get to the point where the business is already great and we're already making money and I can go do the things I want to do and I can go do ministry work and I can go bless people and blah, 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 blah. And in the middle of this, right, I'm trying to make sure that I'm taking care of my family. My daughter's in her junior year. We've got basketball and all kinds of stuff going on. My wife had to go work so we had enough money to pay our bills for a while we were trying to build the businesses. She worked at the church. What we didn't know at the time was we had black mold in our house, and it was completely messing up my wife's multiple sclerosis, and her brain wasn't working. She literally does not remember hardly anything from the time that we lived in Denton. You could ask her things right now about the time that we lived in Denton. She can't tell you much of anything because of black mold. Had no idea what was going on at the time. Guys, we had an adventure. And Cory wanted to blame others. I wanted to play the Samson card. I wanted to go hide in a cave. I wanted to blame others. There were times when I wanted to just give up. I was like, I'm done, man. This is stupid. What am I doing? Let's just go get a job, make some money, and be done with this thing. There were months where we were trying to figure out how to pay our bills. There were months that I'd have to call my dad again and go, Dad, look, my brother told me, He goes, when you start this business, you need to borrow $100,000. And I told him, nah, I don't need to do that. That was my older brother, right? I'm playing little brother now. Little brother's going, nah, I don't need to do that, man. I'm only going to borrow 20, 25 grand. I got this. You know, by the end of the year, I'd borrowed $100,000, just like he said I should have done in the first place. Sometimes we need to listen to those people that have already been there, done that, bought the t-shirts, right? But I had to go back and borrow more money because we didn't borrow enough to start the business. 100 grand that it took us to get that business off the ground, the safety business. Now, in the middle of that comes this opportunity. In the middle of that, I thought there's got to be a smarter, better way to do this. And that's when we found what now is Digital Storefronts. It was a digital agency. Initially, I bought this training to go through and do my own stuff for my own safety business. That's why I got into it in the first place. And then I realized the opportunity that was there, which, crazy enough, my second client in the business, I still have to this day, that I had 10 years ago. June or July of 2014 is when I landed the guy. Still have him as a client to this day. That's what building relationships can do. Now, there was something inside of me, and some of you may be at this place in your life. Maybe this will resonate with you. I don't know. There was something inside of me that kept saying, you're made for more. You've been gifted more. You've got skills and abilities that you don't even realize you have right now. I kept pushing back against that. I kept pushing back against that. I kept pushing back against that. And there was a point in there where I made a decision because of things that had happened with the oil field and our safety business, where I went all in on my digital storefronts business. The crazy part is I still had no idea what I was doing. I was like, we're just going to go figure this out. I didn't know a single person that had been successful doing what I was trying to do. Nobody. There wasn't a single one. I didn't have anybody around me to support me other than my family, which they were all super supportive. My parents were, my brothers were, my wife was. I did have a very supportive family. My daughter was super supportive of what we were doing. In the middle of all of that, we always were somehow able to pay our bills. God gave us grace. Even in my darkest times, worst times, struggle, all of the stuff that was happening. There was something that drove me, though. And this is what my wife and I were talking about the other day. The past boss that I had in Colorado, he knew how to push my buttons. He knew how to say things to me that would light me up. I don't know if y'all have ever been there before, where you've had that kind of boss or that kind of coworker, that kind of person in your life that just knew how to push your buttons. He knew exactly what to say to light Cory up. And one of those things is he'd call out my work ethic. And I don't know about y'all, but I grew up from the time I was 7 years old. I was going with my dad to our family business, and I worked every day. I felt like I had a great work ethic. Like that was something I've always kind of felt good about. Like, hey, that's something that I can do. I can show up. I can show up early. I can stay late. I can work hard. I can do my job. I can get this thing off the ground. We were able to do that with the thrift store there, which I felt really excited about. Felt good about that. At the same time, he called me out on that, and it lit a fire in me. Instead of making it a negative thing, I made it a positive thing. And I made it one of those things where, like, you know what? I'm going to go prove that I can do this to myself, because I needed to build that muscle inside of me. We see Samson go through these times where he would do a little bit of good, and then he would just really screw up a whole lot. And he would make some really bad choices, bad decisions. He would do all of this stuff that just really was not good. And I think back and I think about how that experience with that boss, that experience struggling, that experience not being able to know if we were going to pay our bills, that experience knocking doors for months and months and months and getting told no, that experience of struggle helped to form who I am today. We own multiple businesses now. We've ran literally 8 figures in one of the businesses. We've ran multiple 7-figure businesses. We've built multiple 6-figure businesses on top of all of that other stuff. I remember the day that we landed a $45,000 client inside of our digital storefronts business. I remember getting the elevator and hoping that there wasn't a camera in there because I wanted to jump up and down and scream at the top of my lungs, because that day could change everything for my family. And it did. That one client, that one day, literally changed everything for my family, because it opened my eyes to the fact that, look, we all look in the mirror and go, am I worthy? It's a need. It's something built inside of us that says, am I really worth that? And this company was willing, this business that I just barely knew was willing to give me $45K a month to take care of their marketing and do something that I had never done. We didn't have anybody around us that had ever done it. I didn't have anybody to call and go, hey, how do you do this? I didn't have anybody in a group to go to. I didn't have any friends. My dad didn't even understand what in the world we were doing with digital marketing. Neither did my family. They were like, you just sit around and push buttons on computers and you make money, and we don't know how you do that. So I was kind of on my own trying to figure this thing out. At the same time, I remember the day that we got the letter in the mail after 2 years of doing business with this company that said, hey, we're no longer going to do business with you. I also remember that day really well. I had 18 employees to feed. I had their families counting on me, and the payroll and the health insurance and all the stuff that went along with that. I had no idea how we were going to pay our bills, because you don't go out and just go get another $45,000 a month client. It doesn't happen. In fact, in all of the time that I've been doing this business, I don't know that I've ever met another digital agency that had a $45,000 a month SEO client. Ever. I've been doing this a while. I've talked to a lot of agencies. I've literally coached thousands and thousands and thousands of agency owners at this point. Hadn't met anybody. I'm sure there were highs and highs for Samson, and I know there were lows and lows for Samson. I know for me, there was something inside of me that drove me to want to go prove to myself that I could go build a business, I could go touch lives, I could go do something that was crazy big, way bigger than me, way bigger than what I could have done in our little college ministries and our local ministries that we did, way more resources to be able to go do things. There were times when we were cash abundant, and there were times when I couldn't sleep at night because I was trying to figure out how in the world to pay our bills. It took us 2 years. It took us 2 years to dig ourselves out of losing that $45,000 a month client. Now, what's crazy is during that 2 years, there were single days that we would do 6 figures in our agency business. Don't know how. God just showed up. It was crazy. And all of a sudden, we'd be able to pay our bills, and we'd be able to take care of things again. God just showed up. Now, unlike Samson, who only came to God after the fact when he was whining, grappling, whatever. Guys, I was on my knees going, God, I need you. I am just a poor man. Like I need the wisdom. I need the knowledge. I need the ability. I need open doors. I need conversations. I need you to equip me to be the man I need to be for my family and the ministry and these businesses that I have. Totally different way of looking at things. So I want to ask you a question. Are you going for gold in your life right now? Look, Samson was equipped. Can you imagine if Samson wouldn't have been so egotistical and self-centered and selfish and all that? What he really could have done for the people of Israel? What kind of leader could he have been? What could he have accomplished for the children of Israel? If he'd have decided, look, I was made for more. I've been gifted this crazy strength. I can do things that no other man in this world can do. Can I tell you right now that you've been equipped? Can I not just tell you? Can I give you permission? Because sometimes we wait for somebody to give us permission to go be successful. Can I give you permission today? Can I tell you today, right now, on this call, if you're watching this today or you're watching this later on, I don't care. Can I give you permission right now to go live into the fullness and abundance of what God's created you to go be? Permission. Because sometimes we're waiting, like it's like we're sitting around waiting for something to happen. We have to be bold. If we're going to go for gold, like scripture tells us, right? We need to run the race to win, not to come in second, third, or fifth. We need to win the race to win. We run it to win. If we're going to run it to win, how is that going to change what you do daily? Who do you need to get around? Who do you need to become to be the man or woman that can run the businesses, that can change your life, that can set the legacy for your family? Who do you need to be? Who do you need to become? What skills do you need to learn? What leadership skills do you need? Samson could have used some leadership training, guys. He could have used a good coach. He did not have a good coach. He could have used a good coach to come alongside and go, hey, Samson, quit blaming everybody. It's not their fault. You're the moron that went and killed all these dudes and set the things on fire and did all this stuff. Quit it. Stop it. Nobody told him that. God kept giving him grace over and over and over again. Even to the very end, God gave him grace and allowed him to kill all of those guys. More people than he killed in his whole life. He killed in one final blow. Sometimes there's something right in front of you, like a donkey jawbone, that just seems obscure and maybe not the right thing. Guys, it's just a tool, man. That's all it is. For me, it was a digital storefronts business that changed everything for me. When I got a hold of that jawbone, because it's just a tool, guys. It's not the end all. It's not some magical thing. It's not some, like, you can't take and just go push the easy button. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You're going to go through these high highs and you're going to go through the low lows, and you're going to look at your business sometimes and you're going to go, man, this is amazing. I love being a business owner. And then there's other days that you're going to go, maybe I just need to go get a job because I am so stressed out about trying to cover my bills and do this and do that and pay this and take care of that. And yet you're on this call for a reason. Many of you feel the same thing I felt in the last 10 years, which is you can do more. You can be more. You can serve more. You can give more. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at literally right now. I'm looking at life and I'm going, okay, God, I feel like I've barely touched what he has for me right now. I do, man. And I'm surrounded by some amazing people. Our community inside of like digital storefronts that we have and the other groups that I have, amazing. Some of them are on the call right now and I see them and I see their faces and I know them. I know what they're about. I know where they're going. I know what they want to do with their lives. I know who they want to serve. I know who they want to touch in their lives to be able to grow. Some of you are at that position right now where you're going, look, I need a donkey jawbone. Great. Great. I can give you that today if that's what you really want. What I'm going to tell you is you got to become the person that can take that and go do something with it. We don't worship the donkey jawbone. We worship the God, the creator. We don't pull a Samson. You've been gifted in a unique way. Let's figure out how to get you to where you want to go and where you've been created to be. We have people inside of our group right now that are developing everything from nonprofits that can give ministries like nightly stays for them to get away and go just refresh. I see Scott on here. He's all about men's ministry and working with men to teach them how to be the guys that we're talking about right now. To get rid of the victim mentality and to push into who they need to be as men for their families and their communities and their churches, their businesses, as dads, as husbands. There are women on this call that have just the same exact passion for the ladies to do the same exact thing, to be the wives that they need to be and the moms they need to be. Look, there's thousands of ways to make money online. There's thousands of ways to make money right now. Can we just be real about something? The tool, the widget does not matter. There are people that have made hundreds of $millions selling bubble gum, and there's people that have made hundreds of millions of dollars selling socks, and there's people that have made hundreds of $millions selling software. The widget doesn't matter, but you need to pick something. You need to pick a jawbone that you're going to go run with. You need to pick a jawbone where you're surrounded by people that are going to support you, guide you, coach you, help you. You need to pick a jawbone with people around you that have already been there, done that, bought the t-shirts. Here's what I can tell you. The community, the people that surround you, the way that they're going to push you, guide you, coach you, help you is way more important most of the time than skill. You can go learn. Here's the great thing about AI right now. You can pretty much go learn anything you want with AI. The problem is the execution of it. That's where you run into the sticking point. Moving forward, what you're going to see in the upcoming years is, as business owners, your job is going to be to figure out, how do I do an AI-assisted business? It's changing. Things are moving and changing at a really rapid pace right now. You need to make sure that you put yourself around people, groups, communities that are going to drive you in that direction, and they're not scared of where it's going. They're already actively involved in making those shifts and changes. I don't care what business you do. Again, you could go sell bubblegum. I don't care. But sometimes there's jawbones. There's things right in front of us that we need to go take action on. Just like Samson. Maybe you're like him right now. Maybe you've been hiding in a cave for a little bit. Maybe things just didn't go right. Maybe you feel like you're for like more. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're at that place right now to where you're going, look, I need to go find a way to get to that next level. If that's where you're at, we want to talk to you because you're our kind of people. Now, if you want to go blame others, victim mentality, all that, this isn't the place for you. I'm not going to put up with it. That's what a good coach does. They hold you to a standard. They hold you to a standard to where they call you out and they go, look, you were meant for more. You were called to be more. You're called to do more. This is one of those things where you have to make a decision. I am going to go do this thing and I'm going to go all in. The jawbone lasted all the way through killing 1,000 men. Guys, if this is you, if that's who you are, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for a minute. He's going to talk to you guys for a minute about how to get in a conversation about that. And then I'm going to close and wrap this thing up afterwards so that you guys can see if this is the jawbone you need, great. If it's not a fit for you right now, great. That's okay. Hopefully today you resonated with something. You took something away from what we were saying. Aaron,
Yes,
what
sir.
you got, man? Because I know you want to share a little bit.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Love the messages as always, as well. There's just Samson is such an interesting character, and I I I didn't think about the jawbone. I saw some people commenting on it in the chat there too. Yeah, he probably envisioned a totally different weapon that he would need to go and attack all these people with, but God puts stuff in front of us sometimes, and it's amazing how those things go so much further than what we think we need down here. So really, really appreciate those words. It also reminded me He had all the external skills. I mean, he had them. But internally, you mentioned coaching and discipleship. We all know how important discipleship is and mentorship, how important it could take those skills, not only develop and build them, but like you said, get them implemented in a way that's wise and efficient.
Yep.
And even somebody like him, I mean, he could have looked a lot different, if he had something like that. But no, Cory, I appreciate the opportunity to speak for just a minute or two here. And guys, I recognize some faces here and some names. So good to see some of these familiar names and faces. Cory has trusted me to work with a few others and having these discussions with people that really want to learn about the opportunity and just explore what you guys are trying to accomplish and what season you're in now. And is there a vision of a new season? And what would have to change for you to get to that season? Is this Jawbone gonna make sense, for that season, right? There's a really good chance you're sitting there right now, and you probably are in a tough spot. 2024 was tough on a lot of folks. The beginning of 2025, I don't think has gotten a lot easier. And guys, that means there's people with real need and probably real desire for change, because things are hard. And we say it a lot in this community. Guys, choosing to do digital storefronts, picking up this Jawbone, that's not an easy decision either. Staying in your job, not an easy decision. Getting a new job, well, that's just a circus. That's definitely a hard situation. Everything is going to be hard. What is worth that hard? What gets you to the season that you want to be in, that season of empowerment for your family, that season of empowerment for your ministry or your nonprofit? Maybe that's time empowerment, not just money, guys. Money's a tool. Money's a jawbone. Digital storefronts is a jawbone to get more of that time. And having that freedom is really important. So Cory said it, and I definitely want to share it again here, guys. We would love an opportunity to talk with you if you feel like what's going on right now is not quite how you envisioned your life being and the kind of impact that you can have in your family's life and the lives of those around you. There are other opportunities out there, guys, that if you really want to have the discipline and work within a community that you could be evenly yoked with, you could really grow stronger together with us. All right. Nobody in here is competing with each other to be successful. We could all grow stronger together for faith, for family, for what we need to do. There is more than enough business in this world, guys. We're just looking for crumbs here, and it can have a big impact on what's going on. So I'm going to drop the booking link. I've been dropping it a few times for you guys. This is just a discussion. There's no obligation when you hop on here. We really just want to turn on the lights, for you, let you see under the hood on some things and really learn about what you're looking to accomplish. And guys, we'll be honest with you too. That I'm not assuming, and I know Cory's not assuming, this is the perfect fit for every single person in here. We both acknowledge that. Um, but we also acknowledge that fear can keep a lot of people away from something that they can step in faith into and have a real change for growth. So, guys, it's okay if it's a little scary to even hop on this call. You won't know unless you talk with us. And that's why we just want to meet you there and have a discussion first. And guys, if that goes well, then we'll sit down with you in Zoom and really look at things visually, get you all the clarity you need to really discern, if this is the right community in place. So I'm going to drop that booking link for you guys. And whether you're working with me or somebody else from the team, you are in good hands here. And we just ask that you come with an open mind and some curiosity, and we're coming with the same thing, and we'll just have a chat and see where God takes things from there. So I appreciate it. And Cory, I'll throw that back to you.
Yeah, thank you, man. It hit me a minute ago as you're talking. In the last 10 years of me doing this business, there's not been a perfect time to do this business. Just hasn't. I mean, that you look at any year in the last 10 years, and there was something crazy going on. 2025 is not any different. It's just another year. In fact, the only thing that really is happening right now that's kind of exciting me a lot, we've been talking about this a lot. The opportunity probably right now, especially for what we do online, The opportunity right now is a little unreal because people are looking and needing what we have to do. Like they literally are looking for what we offer right now. We have a jawbone that actually fits into a specific need, and it gives us the ability to serve a specific type of client, and they need it. They don't just want it right now, they need it. They need the marketing, they need the help, they need the service online. So whatever it is that you plan on doing from here out, whoever God's created you be, whatever you've been gifted to go do, whoever you've been gifted to become, guys, there's never going to be a perfect time for that. You need to decide either you're going to go and you're going to grab the jawbone and go for it, or you're not. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's DSF. It doesn't matter if it's something else that you're doing right now. At some point, we've got to decide, are we going to go all in? Are we going to become the man or woman of God that we need to be? And are we going to go do the thing? I challenged a very small group that I mentor right now. There's only 7 or 8 of them. I challenged those guys to a 7-day challenge and said, hey, what do you think you can accomplish in the next 7 days? And they were like, I don't know. And blah, 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 blah. One of the ladies in my group, she posted yesterday and she said, you know what? She said, you guys, I did a call this week. Part of it was about limiting beliefs. Some of you on the call right now don't think you're worth $500,000 a year. You just don't. And as long as you don't believe you're worth $500,000 a year, your brain is never going to find a solution to that. It's never going to come up with a way for you to make $500,000 a year. And some of you, that just me even mentioning that, your brain's already pushing back. You're already having these negative thoughts. You're already thinking, well, why would I need $500,000 a year or whatever it is, right? Whatever your brain story is telling you right now. And it's all made up, by the way. We have full control of that. It's all made up. It's all made up. $500,000. Some of you could do some amazing things for the kingdom with $500,000. You could do some amazing things with your ministry, church, nonprofit, people around this world. She goes, you know what? I had a limiting belief that I could only reach out to so many people. She said, I used a tactic or a strategy that you had taught using AI, and I went and did XYZ with it. And then I went back and I started reaching out to my people. She did 138 reach outs in one night. She's already closed deals off of it. All a limiting belief. Because she didn't think that this was really possible, or you can't really do this, or we make these things up. We make these ceilings up that say we can't do this or whatever. I don't know about you, but my God doesn't have a ceiling. It says that Jesus came and gave to give abundance. I don't know who you need to become or what God's gifted you to go do, but I'm just asking you to push into that and go for gold. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. If God's called you to more, who do you need to reach out to today? Maybe it is DSF. Maybe it's getting with Aaron, one of the other team, and talking to him about it because this is something that you need to do. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something totally different. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with somebody that's in your circle. Maybe it's a mentor that you need to find, and you need to either hire them or ask them to help or ask them to be your mentor. Maybe it's a coaching program you need to go involved in. Maybe it's just you need to go start meeting with other men or women that are successful in your community to get around people that are having way more success than you. Because guess what? It's caught way more than it's taught. You really want to have success? You need to get around people that are already successful. You need to get around people that are already doing $500,000 to $1 million a year. If you really want to get $1 million a year. You are worthy, whether you believe it or not, because you were made in the image of God. Now, that may not be the direction for you. Maybe it's your ministry that you're pouring into that you just are looking at, look, if I could just make an extra couple of grand a month doing whatever, DSF or something else, I don't know, whatever it is, that you would have the ability to go do the things and become the person that you need to be to take your ministry to the next level. Great. Great. There's no judgment either way. But don't cower down. Don't shrink back. Don't play small when God's called you to more. I think if there's anything Samson finally did do right, is he went big when he did stuff. He didn't cower back. He was never shy about going all in. He didn't always do it right. He didn't always make the best decisions, but he did go all in. He didn't hold back. And God gave him miracle after miracle after miracle. God's going to move, but many times we need to move. We've got to move. We've got to be the ones to step into the river. The river didn't part until they stepped into the river. They had to take a step. Some of you haven't taken a step. Some of you are just, you're playing for second or third or fifth or just to finish the race. That's not what this is about. We're not just here to just maybe finish the race. We're here to win. We're here to go for gold. If we're going to truly go for gold, who do you need to go contact today? Like, don't wait. Don't make an excuse. Well, I don't really have time, or I'm busy, or I got to watch this Netflix show, or right? I got to go pick my kids up, or you pick the excuse. It doesn't matter. Just pick it. Like, it's just an excuse. That's all it is. I do it too. I do it too. Who do you need to go contact today? Maybe it's Aaron. Maybe it's somebody else. And then I would challenge you to do something. I would challenge you to sit down and write out, what belief do you need to have for you to become the man or woman that God's created you to be? What belief do you need to have that would serve you to become the man or woman that God created you to be? Some of you, there is crazy things in the future for you, because you're going to be willing to go all in. Maybe it's some ministry opportunity. Maybe it's some nonprofit. Maybe it's some family. Maybe it's blessing your family in ways that you never thought. Maybe it's overcoming health issues or illness or other things that's happening. I don't know. That's between you and God. What I do know is we can't play small. God never called us to play small. We serve the creator of the world. So let's go live like it. Let's go be the people that we become the story. Maybe not all of Samson's story. There's stuff that we need to leave out, right? But we become the story that God's created for us, to play big, to go for gold, to be the people that are making impact in this world. So that's your challenge for today. Who do you need to go? Go write out the belief. What's the belief that you need to have to become the man or woman that God's created you to be? What belief do you need to have that'll serve you and serve those around you? Because if you don't get your beliefs right, the actions will never come. Just won't. You'll talk a good game. You'll dream about it. It'll just never happen. It'll just be all talk. So instead of making excuses, let's go execute on what we know we need to do. All right. Thank you guys for spending a Thursday afternoon with me. Man, I am blessed to have you here. I hope this has blessed you guys. If you've learned something today and you're in one of my groups, whether it's the Digital Business with a Mission, DSF, Marketing with a Mission, one of the other groups that I have, if you've gotten golden nuggets out of today, I would love to hear more about what you've learned, what you took out of it, what you could add to it, where I missed the boat, maybe something that you're like, man, you totally missed this. This was huge. Great. I want to learn too. I'm always learning. I'm humble enough to know that, man, I miss stuff all the time. So drop those in there so that we know, because I want to learn from you too. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. You guys have a blessed day. Let's go live and let's go for gold, and let's go all in to become the men and women that God's created us to be. You guys have a great one. I'll see you inside the groups.